not going to tell you guys it's going to get better. But what I will say is the load may feel a little less heavier as the days go on. But you got to stay another day just to be able to see it. What's going on, family? It's your girl Tatiana Moss, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, go ahead and click that subscribe button down below so you can become a part of the family too. And for my returning viewers, hey family, what's going on? Thank you so much for coming back and clicking on another video from your girl. And as y'all can see by the title, yes, we are doing a social work series today. I'm very excited to be bringing this segment back to you guys because I do feel like they are very impactful and useful. If you guys have any topics or insight that you want me to further discuss, please feel free to leave it down below. But in today's video, we are going to do a little bit of a deep dive into kind of revisiting a little bit of my seasonal depression video, which is one I did on my channel a few years ago. So if you're interested in seeing that, I will leave it down below. But this is going to be kind of like more of an updated version, but we're also going to mix into it how to get through grief in the holiday season. So for a lot of people during this time of year, it's a grand time, right? It's jolly, it's fun. You got good food, family. It's so many good things about the holiday, right? But then there is a huge downside to it. What about those that have experienced loss? Or what about those that don't have family or don't have support or just anything during this time of year? This can be a very, very trying time for those. And I wanted to put this video out there to be able to give some insight and give some resources and tools to kind of help people like that navigate, because we all probably at some point in life are going to experience grief and loss to some degree. So if you guys are interested in hearing my perspective, just keep on watching. In shorter terms, it is a type of depression that happens due to the seasons changing, and it often occurs around the months of the fall and winter time period. And usually when the seasons change back over to spring and summer, that's when people find themselves coming out of this depressive state that comes from seasonal depression. A lot of times seasonal depression can last around 3 to 5 months. And after it gets to about that 6-month mark, that will be my recommendation for you guys to go ahead and, if you can, consult and get an appointment with maybe a psychiatrist or a PCP, because typically after 6 months, that's when it can be diagnostic, and you might want to look into seeing if the symptoms are carrying for so long that maybe it might call for an actual diagnosis of major depressive disorder or something else. Let me go ahead and also put a disclaimer out there. I am a supervising and social work practice in the Hampton Roads area, but I also want to let you know that this advice is based on my own research and things that I think that could be beneficial to you all. Please always consult with your PCP, your psychiatrist, to make sure that you have a plan that is tailored just for you, because I don't want to give nobody no wrong information. So again, these videos are just here for those who just want to find maybe a different outlet or just get some suggestions or ways that they can try to be able to get through. And I don't want you guys to look at this as like a form of therapy or something like that. Of course, always, like I said, consult with those people first. Okay, so now that we got that out the way, we're going to go ahead and continue with the video. So let's go ahead and get into the nitty gritty of ways and suggestions of how we can kind of get through this holiday season. The first thing I want you to acknowledge is to not feel guilty about the way you feel. There are so many people that are experiencing the same thing that you've experienced, and like I said earlier in the video, are going to experience it at one time of life. We all go through losses, whether somebody is still physically here or they're no longer with us. So therefore, take the guilt off yourself. A lot of times we carry around a coat of guilt, and it makes us feel like, oh, I wish I could have done this more, or I wish I would have done that. You can't live in the past. You got to live in the present. And that's the best way to move forward in these type of situations. When you constantly are thinking about the past or the future, that's how you create anxiety. I don't know if you guys know that, but anxiety comes from the unknown of what has not come yet, and from you thinking about the past. So therefore, that's why it's always recommended to try your best to stay present, even though that's difficult. But this kind of brings me a little bit to my next point, which is talking about the stages of grief. So you also want to acknowledge, what stage of grief are you in? We all go through the stages of grief when it comes to losses in our life, which is denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Once you have recognized what part of the grief process you're in, that's when you can be able to come up with a plan to be able to tackle how to get through that moment of whatever stage that you're in. But just know you are going to go through, if not all the stages, you might go through all of them at one time, which can be a scary and weird feeling because it's like you're just constantly finding yourself in different ways of emotions when you're going through this. But no, like I said, that it is normal to go through those different stages. But I do think that it's important to recognize what stage are you currently in your grief process so you can know how to move forward. The next thing I'm going to suggest is to come up with a plan for this time of year. Just like when it comes to your trigger. If you know something is triggering for you, you want to have a plan ahead of time so you can know how to deal with it when it comes. I'm going to give you a prime example. If I know that, God forbid, I don't want to put this out in the universe, but if my granddad passes away, right? And I know it's very sensitive for me around the holidays that we used to always spend time with each other around the holidays, right? I would always go over his house and cook or something like that for the holidays. I'm just giving you guys an example. Not saying this really is going on, but I go over his house for the holidays and stuff. And now this year, in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, I don't have my grandfather anymore, right? So I would already be starting trying to put in place what can I do this year outside of those regular traditions that I normally did with my granddad. Maybe you can call up a friend. Maybe you can start your own traditions. Whatever it is, come up with a plan beforehand so you're not getting bombarded at the last minute with grief. Because again, grief is going to be there. But if you have a plan to better combat it, then you could be able to go into it with a little bit more of a better understanding on how to deal with it. Which brings me to my next point. Set realistic expectations for yourself. Ask for support. If you have support, lean on them. And if your support system is any good, they would have already reached out to you around this time. If they know that that was something that you used to go over your granddaddy's house a lot, then you would think in their mind, oh, let me invite my friend over, or let me make sure that I check on my friend around this time because I know that this is a sensitive time for them. So even if you are somebody that maybe you are not currently going through loss at this moment, take this opportunity to think about somebody that you do know and check on them and support them during this time because it is very, very difficult. Grief is a roller coaster. It's ups and it's downs. It's never linear. You never know when it's going to come up. You can literally be listening to your favorite song, driving down the highway, having a grand old time, and then you see an old restaurant that you and your grandfather or your person went to, and then you're in tears. It is literally a roller coaster. That's the best way I can describe grief, is a roller coaster. But again, if you have your support systems in place, then you are going to be able to deal with it a little bit better. So don't feel afraid to ask people for help. A lot of times, like I said, if they already are not providing you help, they have no problem with giving you help. Don't put out there like, oh, nobody's there for me or nobody wants to do this or that if you didn't even try to make an effort to attempt to reach out to somebody or lean on your support, especially when they've given you the past so many times. Hey girl, I know you're going through a lot. Reach out to me if you need me. Reach out to me if you need me. Reach out to me if you need me. And I know a lot of us, like myself, we can be very strong-willed and independent, and we want to make it seem like we don't need assistance. But when people are there and asking you to lean on them, please lean on them. Like, this life is not meant to be went through by yourself. So if you have people there that are open and willing and ready to help you, then please accept the help. The next thing that I would say is to keep a routine. Keeping a routine is the best way, I feel like, to get yourself ahead of the game. Kind of like with the other thing I said, coming up with a plan. Because if you already have your routine, it's going to be hard for you to kind of fall off of it if you already know the things that you got to get done on a daily basis. Now is not the time to be waddling away in bed and stuff like that, because that's going to make you feel even worse. Now, of course, you're going to have your days where you can do that. Don't feel bad, right? But you don't want to stay in bed too much. Please keep a routine for yourself, whether that's going to the gym, getting up with your girlfriends, or if you have a lover or whatever the case may be, once a week, reading a book, joining some type of club, just anything to keep yourself on a schedule, to keep yourself busy. But We're going to get to it in a little bit because I know people are going to ask, well, what do I do when I'm not busy? What am I going to do when my mind is not wandering? We will get to that in just a second, but I just wanted to touch on this point first to just make sure that you are finding ways to keep yourself going every single day. The next one I'm going to bring up is tying back into what I was saying about what you can do when your mind starts wandering and you think about the person when you're not busy. Just because the person is no longer here with you physically, or if the person is still on this earth and you just don't talk to them. Now I'm going to give two different separate talking points when it comes to those, because those are two completely different things. So first I'm going to speak to the person that is no longer here and that you're grieving them. The first thing I would say is to keep their memories alive. Just because the person is not here physically does not mean you can't still celebrate them. Think about all of the great things that you've done together. Maybe if y'all took photos together, create a photo album with the person, or go to the favorite place that you guys used to go to and stuff like that. Exposure therapy is a great way for you to get over things that maybe you might be struggling with. Now, this is something I wouldn't recommend doing immediately, of course, but over time, you want to expose yourself to different things that possibly have been triggering for you in the past, so you can at some point overcome it, because you don't want to constantly be living in fear or triggered by different things, because that's just not going to feel comfortable in the long run, if you ask me. And also allow yourself to feel what you're feeling in the moment. Once again, going through those stages of grief and finding where you at in the moment, accepting of it. Are you angry right now? Are you trying to bargain? Oh, well, maybe if I would have just did this, I could have still had this person in my life. Or maybe if I would have done this person would still be around, right? You have to understand where you at in those moments and recognize it and sit with it. I'm feeling frustrated right now. I'm frustrated because I no longer have this person. I no longer have this thing. There's nothing I can do about it but keep my memories alive with them and understand that hopefully at some point I will be able to get back up with this person. You know, so that's kind of like a way you can deal with it in that moment. Comes to if the person is no longer here physically. Now, for those of you who you have people that you no longer speak to or talk to, and you're dealing with the loss of that, but they are still physically here, right? So again, you're going to kind of do the same thing. You're going to pick out what part of the grief area are you in, and then you're going to lean into that emotion in that moment, and you're going to maybe journal about it. You're going to maybe go to therapy about it, or you can honestly have a conversation with the person. You can have a conversation with the person if you're up for it, to tell them how you feel. And if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can write the person a letter and then throw it away. And that could be your way of getting it out of your system, because you don't want to keep harming over those feelings, because it does build resentment over time. You don't find places to place your anger or your frustration when you are dealing with those things in those moments. So now let's get into some ways that we can combat some of the seasonal depression symptoms and also the grief and loss things that we got going on. Of course, I'm going to always advise you guys to take your vitamin D. There's so many people, specifically those Black people, that don't take vitamin D supplements or any vitamins at all, and we are suffering. If you're finding yourself tired, all of these different symptoms, check into your vitamin D levels. Most of the times it might be low, and especially around this time of year, it is insanely low. So make sure you're taking a physical vitamin D, or you can take like a supplement of it in another form, and try your best to get light when you can. They also have a type of therapy called phototherapy, if I'm not mistaken, where it uses a certain type of light. Make sure that you're getting a certain amount of sunlight that you need to get in order to feel in a better state. Another great thing that I like to actually utilize in my practice when I'm dealing with people, and I've also had it done on me before, is cognitive behavioral therapy. It's literally one of my favorite therapies, and it kind of talks about our thoughts leading to us having a certain type of emotion, and then an emotion responding and having us do a certain behavior. So it's almost like a cycle. You're pretty much retraining your brain to think differently versus what you might have been telling your brain for the longest time. So you can try to practice CBT yourself, but I would advise you, if you can, to go through and get it with a therapist. But I know everybody can't afford therapy, so I'll definitely try to leave some books down below that can kind of help you guys when it comes to navigating if you want to do the CBT route. I also advise medication. Sometimes it gets that bad to the point that you need medication, you know, so go and consult with your PCP, like I said earlier in the video, or a psychiatrist to figure out what medication is best for you. Sometimes things do get out of control, and we need things to help us get back in control. We got to be realistic with ourselves. So I recommend medication. Meditation is another great way to put yourself in a state of mind, like in an immersive world where you're just kind of not thinking about anything that's going on around you, and you can really tap in deep into your mind and your body and feel all the sensations that's going on into it. All right, and next, after we have those different treatment recommendations, we of course want to have our coping skills. So coping skills are things that we're going to use to keep ourselves grounded in between the time of us not doing those certain type of treatment options that help us to get through. So your coping skills could be you journaling, right? You reading a book, you going on a walk, you going to the gym. So doing those various different things are what's going to lead you to just making sure that you are staying on the up and ups as much as possible, even though there's going to be some down moments. But your coping skills pretty much just carry you over until maybe you have something that comes up and like, okay, you got to switch some things around when it comes to what type of treatment options that you're using to help you to get through your grief and loss or your seasonal depression. And the last thing I'm going to recommend is just some of the resources that I found to be very, very helpful that I think would be great for you guys to utilize. So I would say look up some grief groups. There's so many people that have went through something very similar to what you have. You can find community and go into these grief groups, which can be like on Facebook, or you can look it up on Google. And again, you could be around people that are similar and just going through the same things as you, and it makes you feel like you're not alone. Suicide prevention hotline is, I believe, 988. You dial it, they are open 24/7. You can text it if I'm not mistaken too. If you are feeling suicidal, if you feel like you don't have anybody, please call the suicide hotline or call your people of support, because I'm pretty sure that they will pick up the phone, or if not, call the suicide hotline. You know, that's what they're there for, to help you, because that's the last thing they want you to do, right? So I'm going to always recommend them as well. I'm going to recommend therapy, of course. Like I told you guys, some great options that you can go with, that if you want to look into those specific type of treatment options, such as phototherapy, cognitive behavioral therapy. And if you've ever been through any type of trauma or something like that, I would also recommend brain spotting therapy as well. So when you are looking for a therapist or something like that, you can just go on Google and literally type in phototherapists near me or brain spotting therapists near me, and I promise you a billion things is going to come up. I'm also going to give you guys some resources down below. Psychology Today, you can find great therapists up there. You can also find great therapists at therapyforblackgirls.com. That's where I found my therapist when I was going to therapy, and there's a few other ones that I'm going to make sure that I definitely list down below as well. Also, I am going to throw this out there. I know this is crazy because right now AI is just not always the best love, but I will say, if you use it correctly, it can be beneficial. ChatGPT. Now, I'm not saying go up there and use ChatGPT as a therapist, but when I tell you, I was highly impressed. Somebody that is very knowledgeable, ChatGPT is powerful. And if you're somebody that you can't afford therapy right now, I would say that's the best thing that you can do. It'll help you to come up with different plans or whatever you want to ask it. When it comes to getting through grief or seasonal depression, anything, it will literally like spit it out for you. You just got to type in what you need or want, and boom, it'll do it for you or whatever. So I would definitely recommend ChatGPT, but just be careful, because I know it doesn't always get the best rap, but again, I'm trying to give people some options here that need some help. And if they can't afford to get help at this time, sometimes you got to go with what the best next thing is. The next thing I'm also going to recommend is some books. I'm going to recommend 2 books. It Didn't Start With You, which is a really good book if you are somebody that, like, you're grieving family members that are currently still alive and you don't really maybe rock with them, or you fell out with friends, or whatever the case may be or whatnot. That's a really good book to read to kind of help you with like certain things about yourself that you find yourself like, why am I like this, or why am I like this, blah blah blah. Like, that's a great book for a deep dive if you want to figure out some things about yourself. Also, Body Keeps Score. That's the book. Every therapist I feel like has read that book. The Body Keeps Score. So if you experience any type of trauma or any type of thing, what the body does and how it stores it, I think it's a great book to read as well. And definitely leave some other books down below that I feel like will be beneficial to you guys as well. That is pretty much it, y'all. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and you were able to get some insight on the different things that I give you guys my perspective on. Again, I just want you guys to know that you are not alone and what you're feeling is valid. If didn't nobody tell you they love you today, I love you. You're important. You matter. And just know that I'm not going to tell you guys it's going to get better. But what I will say is the load may feel a little less heavier as the days go on. But you gotta stay another day just to be able to see it. You gotta be able to stay another day to see it through and get to the end of the tunnel, because it's so much more for your story that you haven't possibly gotten a chance to see yet. But like I said, just stay another day and see what happens. You never know. It might be the best day of your life. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys did enjoy, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Oh, before I get off the video, y'all know I always leave a question at the end of my social work series. So let me go ahead and leave you one really quickly. What is something that you have done to help to get through grief and loss in your life? So out of the things that I suggested, write down below maybe some things you might have done to help yourself, because you never know, you might be able to help the next person. So yes, write down below what is something that you use to help you to get through grief and loss when you did experience it at some point in your life. Whether that was somebody physically lost somebody, or you just lost somebody and they're still walking on this earth. Leave that down below. If you made it all the way to the end of the video and you still ain't subscribed to the family yet, what are you waiting on? Click on that red subscribe button down below before leaving out. Thank you guys so much as always for your love and support. You already know. I will see you in my next video. Bye y'all.